583. It's a number that's actually hard to wrap your head around, isn't it?
It really is.
When we think about aviation disasters, the mental image is almost always the same. You picture a mechanical failure at 30,000 feet or, a storm, something going wrong up in the sky.
Right. We are conditioned to fear the fall. It's the loss of control that scares us.
Exactly.
But the reality of the event we're looking at today is, well, it's completely different.
So different.
The deadliest day in the entire history of civil aviation didn't happen in the air.
No.
It happened on the ground.
On a runway.
Two massive Boeing 747, the absolute queens of the skies in the 1970s, colliding in a ball of fire.
While one was trying to take off and the other was just trying to get out of the way.
Yeah.
That's what makes this story, the Tenerife Airport disaster, so incredibly haunting.
It is.
It wasn't a technical failure in the traditional sense. The engines didn't just explode.
No, the wings didn't fall off. It was a collision of circumstances.
We're unpacking what historians and safety experts call the perfect storm.
It is the ultimate case study for the Swiss cheese model of accidents.
Right.
If you're not familiar with the concept, just imagine stacking slices of Swiss cheese.
Okay.
Usually the holes don't line up right, so you can't see all the way.
One layer of defense covers the next.
Exactly. But on March 27, 1977, the holes in every single layer, security, weather, infrastructure, and human psychology, they all aligned perfectly.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just recounting a crash.
No.
We are dissecting that alignment. We have the accident reports, the cockpit voice transcripts, everything. We're going to figure out how a bomb threat, an impatient captain, a foggy runway,
and a single squeal on radio frequency
led to the worst tragedy in aviation history.
It's a heavy topic, for sure, but it's also the event that completely rewrote the rule book. I mean, if you've flown on a plane recently, the way the pilots talk to each other, the way they talk to the tower, that protocol was written in the ashes of Tenerife.
So let's set the board. It's March 1977, a Sunday afternoon in the Canary Islands.
Yep.
This is a huge vacation spot for Europeans escaping the cold, right?
It's like Hawaii for Europe. So you have two jumbo jets involved here.
Okay.
Pan Am Flight 1736, coming all the way from Los Angeles with a stop in New York.
So they've been traveling for a long time.
Hours. The crew is tired. Passengers are exhausted. And then you have KLM Flight 4805, a charter from Amsterdam, full of Dutch families looking for sun.
And both of these flights were supposed to land at Las Palmas.
Right, the main international airport on Gran Canaria.
But they never made it there. And this is the first layer of that Swiss cheese.
The first hole.
The inciting incident wasn't even at the airport where the crash happened.
No, it started with a political act. At 1:15 p.m., a bomb exploded in the terminal at Las Palmas Airport.
Wow.
It was planted by a separatist group. Now, the bomb itself, it didn't kill anyone, but it caused a panic. But then, and this is the key, there was a credible threat of a second bomb.
So the authorities are in a bind. They can't risk it. They have to shut down Las Palmas.
Total lockdown, which means every international flight heading to Gran Canaria has to devote.
And on the Canary Islands, your options are pretty limited.
Very limited. The only airport nearby that could technically handle the traffic was Los Rodeos, on the neighboring island of Tenerife.
Now, I pulled up some photos of Los Rodeos from back then, and International Airport feels like a generous title.
It does. It was a small secondary airport, really, built for local island hopper traffic.
So not for 747s?
Absolutely not. It had one runway, one main taxiway, and very limited radar. It's like trying to park a fleet of city buses in a suburban driveway.
And the source material describes the scene as just absolute chaos.
It was. Planes are diverting there, one after another.
Yeah.
The apron, the main parking area, it filled up instantly.
So they had to start parking these massive jets on the taxiway.
On the taxiway itself, which creates this serious logistical bottleneck.
Because if the taxiway is full of parked planes, you can't use it to taxi.
It's a parking lot. So the only way to get a plane into position for takeoff is to have them drive down the active runway, the only runway, and then turn around.
That backtrack maneuver.
That backtrack is central to the entire crash.
So Pan Am lands, and they are, for all intents and purposes, trapped.
Completely trapped.
Yeah.
They're parked right behind the KLM jet. They can't move until the KLM moves. It's hot. Passengers aren't allowed off.
And the hours are just ticking by.
And the Pan Am crew is just simmering with frustration.
I can imagine.
They actually had enough fuel to circle Las Palmas and wait out the bomb threat.
They didn't even need to land.
No. They begged air traffic control to let them stay in the air. but they were ordered to land.
So they're already annoyed, stuck on a tiny island they didn't want to visit, behind a Dutch plane that is blocking their exit.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that Dutch plane, the KLM Flight. Because the captain there is a very specific character, Captain Jacob Veldhuizen van Zanten.
Oh, yeah. In the world of KLM, Van Zanten was, well, he was practically royalty.
How so?
He was their chief flight instructor. If you were a pilot for KLM in the 70s, Van Zanten probably trained you or gave you your license check.
He was literally the face of the airline. I read he was in the magazine ads that the passengers were reading on that flight.
He was. So that creates a really difficult dynamic in the cockpit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the first officer and you're sitting next to the guy who wrote the manual and basically holds your career in his hands.
Are you going to correct him if he makes a mistake?
Probably not.
We call that the trans-cockpit authority gradient. And back then, in 1977, that gradient was very, very steep.
The captain was king?
The captain was master and commander.
Mm-hmm.
Subordinates spoke when spoken to. The first officer on that flight had actually just been checked out on the 747 by Van Zanten himself.
So he's flying with his examiner.
He is. And Van Zanten isn't just dealing with his ego. He's dealing with a very real bureaucratic pressure.
Pumpkin time.
That's what pilots call it. The Dutch had recently instituted these very strict duty time limits for crews.
And if you went over your hours...
It wasn't just overtime. The captain could face criminal prosecution.
Wow.
So Van Zanten is checking his watch constantly. If they don't leave Tenerife soon, the crew goes illegal. They'd have to stay overnight.
On a tiny island that's already overcrowded with stranded tourists, finding hotel rooms for a 747 full of people would be a nightmare.
A total nightmare. He is highly motivated to get out of there. He wants to beat the clock. And that pressure, it leads to the first critical decision.
Las Palmas finally reopens, the bomb threat is cleared, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief.
You'd think so.
But then Van Zanten makes a decision that, looking back, is just puzzling. He decides to refuel in Tenerife.
This is one of those sliding doors moments. He didn't need the fuel to get to Las Palmas.
Go to a 25-minute flight.
Yeah. A tiny hop. He had plenty in the tanks. But he was trying to be efficient. He thought, if I refuel now, I won't have to do it at Las Palmas. I could drop the passengers, turn around, and fly straight back to Amsterdam.
Trying to save time on the back end.
Exactly.
But that decision cost him 35 minutes on the front end.
And in those 35 minutes, the weather changed completely.
The fog.
Tenerife North is high up in the mountains, about 2,000 feet above sea level. It has its own microclimate.
So clouds don't just sit above the airport.
They roll through it. And while the KLM was sitting there pumping fuel, a massive bank of fog rolled in. Visibility went from clear and sunny to less than 300 meters, just like that.
The fuel also changes the physics of the plane, doesn't it? I mean, fuel is heavy.
Incredibly heavy. He took on 55,000 liters. That adds roughly 40 tons of weight to the aircraft.
40 tons.
A heavier plane accelerates slower, it needs more runway to lift off, and it climbs more sluggishly. If that plane had been 40 tons lighter, the outcome might have been completely different. He effectively anchored his plane to the ground.
So now we have the setup. Fog is thick. You can't see the control tower from the runway. KLM is fully fueled and itching to go.
And Pan Am is right behind them.
And Pan Am is physically trapped.
They were. The first officer actually got out of the plane and measured the space between the KLM's wingtip and the terminal, trying to see if they could squeeze by.
And it couldn't.
Missed it by 12 feet. So they had to sit there burning time, watching the fog get thicker, just waiting for Van Zanten to finish.
Okay, so KLM finally finishes,
Yeah.
Engines on, ATC tells them to taxi. But again, the taxiways are blocked.
Right, so the instructions are unique. ATC tells KLM to taxi down the active runway, go all the way to the end, make a 180-degree turn, and hold for takeoff clearance.
And they tell Pan Am to follow them.
Yes, Pan Am follow the KLM down the runway and exit at the third taxiway. This will clear the runway so KLM could take off.
Exit at the third taxiway. Sounds simple.
It sounds simple.
But this is where the Swiss cheese holes start lining up really, really fast.
It was a recipe for confusion. The controllers are Spanish, speaking English as a second language to American and Dutch crews. The fog is thick, so Pan Am is literally counting taxiways as they pass them. 1, 2.
But the third one presented a problem.
A big one. The third exit C3 was angled backward. To take it, the massive 747 would have to make a 135-degree turn.
Which is almost a U-turn.
Imagine driving a semi-truck down a narrow road and trying to turn sharply back the way you came. It's almost physically impossible for a jet that size.